Passion is not an Easter egg that you're going to find tucked under a tree out there. It
Yeah.
is what you are already capable of.
This is Intentionally Ever After. Join intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek for a series of personal conversations and coaching sessions with various people about how living with intention shows up for them.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Intentionally Ever After. Today, I am very excited to be meeting and chatting with the great Terri Trespicio. Terri, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. You nailed the name. You really nailed it.
You know, I know that it's a name that could be mispronounced. You know, it looks straightforward.
Right. It's fine.
I did. I'm glad I nailed it, though. Terri, will you kindly introduce yourself for folks?
Sure. I am and have been for years a brand advisor, a professional speaker, and more recently, the author of a book called Unfollow Your Passion, How to Create a Life That Matters to You. And the way I think about it, everyone's business, when you have one, can evolve and change over time. And the way I talk about my work now is that I help people who feel stuck, stagnant, and thinking they want to do something more to find their voice, unlock their creative genius so they can do work that matters to them and to other people, whether that's writing, speaking, running their thing, being on YouTube. It doesn't matter. The asset doesn't matter, but the process of helping someone access that so they can do fulfilling work, that is my jam.
So thank you for sharing that. I imagine passion comes up a lot, right? In that kind of discussion, right? People are like,
course,
I want to do this that you're saying, but passion, that's got to be linked, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, I have had a bit of a contrarian view of passion for a long time. I guess it always sort of bothered me, but then it really crystallized when I had the opportunity to give a TED Talk at like 2015. Okay, so it's a couple of years now. But when I was invited to give a TED Talk, there was a spot, and I didn't know I was going to get, like, it came up and the guy was like, okay, well, I threw my hat in the ring and said, I'd love to give one. Do you have a topic? I have a couple ideas. Like, I didn't have a talk to pitch. It wasn't even in my mind, but I had always wanted to give a TED Talk. So he said, what are you thinking? I said, I'll tell you what really gets on my nerves. When people tell you that you have to find your passion and follow it and everything will work out. I said, that sounds great, but that has never helped me navigate my own life or career. And so it's not that I don't think passion's important. I tap into my own passion daily. I feel lucky that I can do that. But what I have a problem with is the idea that you have to know what it is to start anything. Because waiting till you find your perfect passion or figure out what that is, I got to figure out what it is yet. Do you though? Because I don't think it's out there. I think it's from inside. And this idea that I'm going to put my life on hold until I find my passion, or I'm just going to keep searching for it, is a nightmare. And then I gave the TED Talk called Stop Searching for Your Passion, which has nearly 8 million views, which is more people have seen that than literally anything else I've ever done. And so I know that hit home, Joe, for that reason, not because everyone's like, oh, I shouldn't follow mine. No, because most of us we're standing there at an intersection going, I don't know. Am I supposed to know? And I say, no, you don't have to know.
Yeah. So it's not necessary. In fact, it probably stands in the way, right? Is what it sounds
like.
The
search, right? The idea that I must know something, that I have to know something first in order to be successful, or that I'm meant to do only one thing. I think those are very binary and linear approaches to a life that is multidimensional and should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it's not that you might not happen to achieve, your passion or realize it. It's that shouldn't be part of the roadmap at all.
No, you tap into it. Passion is not an Easter egg that you're going to find tucked under a tree out there. It is what you are already capable of, because it's not, and I don't believe passion makes us unique, because there's not a human being who wouldn't love that feeling, doesn't love that feeling of being fully focused and engaged and doing something that draws on their skills, talents, keeps them learning, curious, all those things. Of course we want it. So it's not one thing. It's the power in you and how many ways can you tap it where you're not a bedroom lamp. It's not like, well, you only work in the bedroom. I have to plug you in there. No, I'm a lamp. I can plug me in anywhere. Light will happen. And that's kind of what I want people to see because it gives people more options and helps them see their lives in a less rigid or fixed way.
Yeah, that's spectacular. So you sound very passionate when speaking. What is passion? How does it play a role in your life?
I don't wait for it. I bring it. So the example I always use is board games. Have you ever been with a group of people and you're like, let's play Taboo or let's do this? And a group of people who may not have a lot in common or don't even know each other that well can get close very quickly playing a board game because it's this fictional made up thing, but there's also a set of rules and there's goals and there's all the things. And then what happens when you know the rules and you're going to play? It's exciting. It's fun. If you were to watch a group of people really involved in a board game, they certainly look passionate. They sound passionate. Did anyone come into the house going, hi, I'm really passionate about board games, so I need to do that tonight? No, of course not. Activities, engagement, people, the opportunity to contribute, to make, to think. These are the things that everything out there is like a match. And it can, I have it backwards. I am the match. You are the match. And we can strike ourselves against lots of different services and get a flame. That's what I think of as it's like, all right, what are we doing? And I'll give you an example. Part of what I help people do now to access what they want to, I'm not so set on like, what do you want to do? Is it a podcast? Is it a book? Assets come later. But what is it you want to be involved in doing now? Because it's the making that's exciting. What are you wanting to say or to do? That part's really fun. But when we think about, I have to know what that is, then we're putting way too much emphasis on the control part and what I think I'll be good at. Then the ego gets involved. But hang on. What did I say I was going to give you an example of? Back up. What was I just saying? I had it in my pocket and then it slipped out. I said, I want to give you, hang on a second. I'm going to give you an example of, what was that? Was I talking about, what did you ask me? Maybe it was something you asked.
Well, no, it wasn't what I asked you. I think you were talking about, you were talking about the match metaphor and bringing the passion.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So pick up from here, producer. Here's an example. The process I use to help people access ideas is the same process I use when I'm helping a company, an organization, an individual figure out what their brand message is. And part of my living is working as a brand advisor. I'm hired by companies and groups. I team up with designers to help articulate the messaging. And you think, well, brand advisor, and then she's also helping. What do they have to do in common? They have one thing in common, which is, what does it mean? What is the meaning of this thing? It's not what should our brand be? Should it be pink or blue or should it have stripes? It's not about that. Yes, that's part of it, but none of the choices you can make creatively for anything matter if they don't mean something. And so what I realized, I started my career as a writer, as an editor, a copywriter. I can write just about anything, but the thing that was most fun to write was when I could use my writing chops to draw meaning out of something. And what was freeing for me was when I realized it didn't matter what it was. I spoke at a financial services event. Someone invited me to speak at this event. I don't know anything about that. But they said, these are business owners. They need to know about branding. So I did just I was their closing keynote. I did a talk about how I see branding, which obviously is informed by this whole perspective. And advisors started to hire me. And I kept getting invited back. So if you keep dancing in front of people for a long time, they just kind of hire you after a while. And so I was having these wonderful opportunities to work with an industry I knew nothing about, had no interest, zero passion in the financial services industry. Guess what? Doesn't matter. What I found was fun. First, I was intimidated because I go, what if I don't know stuff that they think I should know? I go, I'm not supposed to know anything. They're not hiring me because I know their business. They know their business. What
Right.
I'm being hired to do is what I do, which is tell me what you're trying to do, who you're trying to talk to, why are you having trouble communicating that? It's the same thing. But I got excited and passionate about it because I was helping them do a thing that I could do. So I've done financial services firms many times, but I've also done it for t-shirt companies and I've done it for nonprofits. And I realize what the freedom is realizing I don't have to nicheify. I don't have to pick a lane. I just have to have the sharpest possible tool that I can fashion so that no matter where I am, I can do what I do best. And I found that no one cares. And I was afraid to appear ignorant. And then I realized that's my job. And I'll say, Bob, explain to me what you're trying to do, trying to sell nuclear energy to bank loan officers. Literally, I was like, I don't understand it. Tell me, because I'm ignorant, but I'm not stupid. So if you can't explain it to me, I'm going to help you explain it. You got to tell me what you're trying to do. And then I realized, holy cow, you can do that anywhere. So it's not just me. I'm not unique in that way, but you, Joe, can help lots of people and someone else can do lots of different things. I think we have to pick one, and I don't like to pick one. I'm a Libra.
Yeah.
I like to hang out in the middle somewhere.
I love that. There's so many things I love about that. You don't have to feel limited by not being an expert in any one area. In fact, that's your strength.
Yes.
Right.
Ignorance is my strength.
Yeah, I love it. Embrace the ignorance, right? Because you are coming in, because these people are all up in their heads. They're in their day-to-day business, right? But you come in knowing maybe nothing, very little to nothing about it. What a great place to start.
Because they know too much.
Yes.
They go, well, we're trying to do this. Why isn't it working? I said, because you understand how someone else coming in doesn't know what you know. So it's kind of like they're blurred in the curse of knowledge. And I have the gift of ignorance. So I say, wait, I don't know what you just meant there when you said that. I don't know what that means. Oh, you don't know? No. And if I don't get it, no one will get it. So I am the ultimate filter for, does this make sense? Does it mean something?
That's
and
great.
that, that has been really useful to me. And I am extremely passionate using it. And I don't care what for, unless it crosses my moral boundaries, of course. But barring
you'll notice that naturally, right? You don't have to worry about that, right?
Oh my
You're pretty closely connected with it. Yeah.
Well, that's why my friends in advertising are also miserable. These brilliant people who work on Madison Avenue, like these big advertising firms in Manhattan. And I see them coming out pretty depressed. Not all, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
They are cynical, down, critical, because yes, you think, oh, how cool to be able to make ads for this or that, but try applying those skills to some things that you don't agree with or don't love, or that are only to make someone money. And I realized, because I always thought maybe I would have liked advertising. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't have.
Well, it sounds like from your perspective, they're having to constantly negotiate with their own personal values.
Yes, that's hard. Yeah. And I'm lucky to be in a position and have worked hard enough that I don't have to take whatever comes along. If I don't like the thing, or I don't like the person, I mean, that's really, when I tell people who are starting to run their own thing or just a side hustle, whatever. The real mark of success is not that that you get someone to pay you money for something. The real success is when you can turn money away.
Yeah.
When you can say, nope, let it go. And that to me is real power. My uncle, years ago when I was young, he said it jokingly, but he said, Terri, don't be a desperate woman. And I was like, never. Never be a desperate person, let alone woman. But he was joking. But I'm not joking. I think it's important.
No. I think it's great to embrace the freedom to not have to compromise on your values. That's a great power, right?
Hashtag goals, right? Because I know if you are, if you are very strict on a certain line, and yet you have an opportunity to do work that, now here's the careful line though, because someone might go, well, I'm really passionate about health and wellness, and I want to be a sales copywriter for health coaches and for people in hospitals. Cool. That's great. What if you hit a dry spot, which happens, a dry phase, and you get a gig to write copy for Godiva chocolates? Which, by the way, is what happened to me. I was psyched about it, though. And like, hey, you want to write copy for Godiva? I can't do this gig. I'm like, I'll take that gig. But if you're like, but I don't know if I can because,
Mm.
chocolate is I am not into high horses. I am not into being precious really about any of it. And when you need to make money, you need to make money. That is, I'm not pushing a million things away every day, trust. But I think it bears considering, is it going to be hard for you to do, say, politics? If you have one set of politics and now you're being invited to write for the other, I mean, say what you will, Fox News is filled with very progressive, liberal, New York, like Manhattanite producers and writers who need to make a living and want it on their resume that they did that work, but they don't believe in it. I don't think that's easy.
Sure. No. And many people feel like they have to do it, or that's the compromise they're willing to make. But it sounds like you're very clear about feeling like you don't have to make compromises, or you shouldn't have to make compromises.
I've worked hard so I don't have to, so that I don't have to do something that makes me feel bad about myself. Because I've been there where I was taking money from people who literally were emotionally abusive, made me feel terrible. And I was like, but I can't let go of that money. What am I going to do? I can't.
Sure.
And then I did. And a friend of mine said, her name's Elise Bennon. She's amazing. And she was like, you don't have to make a big deal of this. She said, you just have to replace that client, replace them. But how? No one knows how, but you better believe I did. And more than doubled what I was bringing in a year after I stopped clinging to this horrible money from a bad situation.
That's a great, powerful reframe that she was able to give you, right? You weren't like stuck. It's like, it's either all of this or I've got nothing. It's
well,
like,
right.
No,
I was being very
just
dramatic.
Have to. Well, sure. But we all have a tendency to do that, right? Because we feel like something is really off. And so, of course, the drama's there, right? We've been fed the drama. We know what drama sounds like. Oh, this is the situation. This is dramatic. I think we have a natural tendency to do that.
I turned it into like Game of Thrones, and she was like, this is a transactional situation. Next. And that's what I like to take with her. That's what I like to take with me from her is, all right, and next, what are we dealing with next?
Yeah.
I think that we'll always all have something we're dealing with. The goal is never a life with no problems. Show me anyone with life with no problems. It's called pick your problem. What problem do you want? You want problems that you want to solve.
Yes.
The problem isn't that we have problems, it's that we have the wrong problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And people maybe aren't choosing.
No, they go, these are my problems.
Yes.
I said, level up, have better problems.
I love that. All right. Since I'm not sure how close I can get to a natural transition, I'm going to throw this question. No,
but you didn't ask me the question you ask everyone, and I'm dying to answer.
I know. And you've given me such good answers. I want to keep going with them. And I will ask you, Terri, what does it mean to live intentionally?
I would have answered this a few years ago, probably saying it means to do everything on purpose. And I think that gives the cognitive mind a little too much credit, because I don't think that we can intend to do things. As I say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We can mean to do things. Anyone can have intentions. I don't think intentions are the thing as much as, are they yours? And are they things you actually want, rather than I intend to write a book, even though I hate writing or something, I think it's not so much doing everything on purpose, because I think a lot of things happen by chance and discovery. I think it might mean doing as much as you can with purpose, so that I'm doing something because I mean to do it. There's a lot of things I don't mean. Over the holidays, I snapped at my mother. I've lost things. Oh, I lost this earring, or lots of things that we do, we don't intend to do. A lot of times, as you know, we get attached to an outcome. Like when people are like, oh, I visualize the outcome. I do a little bit, but not totally. I like to keep things a little bit unknown. Even when I go to give a talk, if I go to give a keynote, a 45-minute talk, I plan 80, 85%. And then I always leave a little wiggle room, because I don't know what's going to happen. It's my intention to be entertaining and informative, but it's not my intention to get things right all the time. That's a recipe for nightmare, because I cannot be perfect. you know? Mm-mm.
Well, yeah. And if you set that as your goal to be perfect or to have everything planned out and then you
I
don't do it,
intend to be perfect.
then it's
No,
just
it's not gonna.
fail.
How
Yeah.
about I intend to be as prepared as I can be and to roll with the rest? That's what I try to do because I am an anxious person at the root. And so my mother's tried my entire life to get me to just roll with stuff. And it has been incredibly freeing to unattach or uncouple myself from an outcome and uncouple myself from what that outcome even means. So that I can go, okay, well, I guess we're not doing that. I guess that isn't happening.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay. Let's lock in. I'm curious now. I love this. So let's lock in a little bit. It seems like, and maybe this is just for presentations, but I have a sense that maybe it's not. You lock into kind of a 80% approach. You leave the room for the wiggle room for come
Little
what may.
magic. Little magic.
Yeah. But that sounds very formulaic. Not overly prescriptive, not rigid, but it sounds like an intentional approach. Would you say
It
that
is.
you view your life that way as well?
Yes. I mean, I was a total nerd. I was a straight A student. If I didn't get an A, I needed to know why. Like, I just was the ideal, law abiding, homework doing kid my entire life. And so I do the homework because I don't want to go in unprepared. And yet, what I found is most freeing in whatever I'm doing, client work, I lead lots of workshops and programs. And I'm realizing that, and I think this has to do with getting older too, and having been doing this a little bit longer. But I think there's a little bit more excitement in not being formulaic. Even up until recently, I would for a workshop have a set of slides. We're going to go through these slides. And little by little, I've been like, I'm weighed down by these slides. Who cares? No one walks away from an experience with me in a workshop or a program and goes, I don't know about her, but damn, those slides are so good. I just love the slides. That's a failure. That's a win for graphic design and a failure for you as a presenter. And so I've started to do a little bit of a high wire act where I go in without knowing totally. And what this is requiring of me is that I trust myself and then I stay tuned into intuition. I'm not saying I just go in flailing, but I found that when I stopped, I said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to use slides for this. How about I just talk to them? And the more I do that, the better it gets. The metaphor I'll use for the visual metaphor, because I'm sure there's few people who don't know this, is the movie Forrest Gump when he's hobbling around with his leg braces on. They are what he needs to get around. He's kind of rigidly walking around, and then he starts running and running. And as he runs, those braces just bust off and the screws go flying everywhere. And he's running. That's where we start. Of course, you're going to pack up all your leg braces, get yourself all screwed in tight and perfect. But as you start running and finding your rhythm, you don't need it anymore. A lot of what we think is important is scaffolding. And you don't need it once you've built the thing.
Don't need it once you've built the thing. Yeah.
Like built the thing, meaning built the trust, built the expertise, built the,
sure.
What you're doing. You don't
it
need
sounds like a connection point, right? Once you've connected with the goal, the material, the whatever
I know that's the truth because I started to feel hemmed in by my preparation. I go, I'm going to write up what I do. And then I started being like, what if I don't write this whole thing? Maybe it's too much. I'm telling them too much. Why don't I shut up and let the workshop happen? Why don't I do less prep and be there more? Because preparation and over preparation, I don't even know if that's a real thing, is being locked onto how you thought it should go. And it's never going to be as vital or as important as being there in the moment. And so that has allowed me to unleash a kind of passion because I'm not feeling as strapped in. Like I wrote a few notes for us today and I'm looking at them now. And it's paragraphs I was going to explain to you about what I think the unconscious mind versus the subconscious mind and why I don't think everything's intentional necessarily and that it's logical and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. I don't need to go there. I did that for me.
Yeah. Well, also it can serve a different purpose as well, but you're not limited by that preparation that you did, right?
Preparation
this
can
allows
free
you to
you.
be a lot more responsive.
Preparation really can free you. For people who memorize talks and they're freer because they know it. But preparation can also hinder you because it makes you think you don't trust yourself in the moment.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So there's very much this theme of openness and showing up as you are, ready to go, ready to connect and respond with your environment, the people around you, because that sounds like that's where the realness is, or that's
Yes.
where the money is. What do you still insist upon? Whether it's professional, and I'm going to pull more towards the personal as well, like day to day. What do you insist upon, regardless of the come what may attitude?
You mean not when I'm presenting. You mean in my life.
I do.
In my life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I insist on my mornings to be the same. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I get up basically at the same time. I'm going to make my coffee the same way. I'm going to sit in the same spot. I might change habits over time in terms of what I do at that time, but those first few hours of the day are critical. They are when you do your best thinking. For me, maybe not everyone. Maybe some people do their best thinking at 2 a.m. I'm sure there are many of those too. But I know that as the day goes on, I wear thin like a threadbare tire and I have no grip on the road anymore until evening and I come back up again. So I insist on being allowed to manage my energy in a way that will most benefit whatever work has to get done that day. So, and I insist on the downtime too. So I insist on being focused. Like my boyfriend was like, well, what are you doing Saturday morning? I'm like, I'm doing what I always do. Unless it's an exception and there's something we're doing, that's what I'm doing. And then I can start the rest of the day at like 11, but that first part is mine.
And that sets you up for
That
the
sets
way
me
you
up
want to live
because
the rest of your life.
it feels like you got some roots down. Like, and I'd be tempted too, to like, check this, do that. Then I go, whoa, 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 whoa. I have to keep reminding myself, what are we doing now? This is the money time. This is the most valuable, highest value. It's expensive this time. If you're your own client, what are you going to spend this time on? And I was actually thinking, should I spend this on the client thing? Should I spend it on my thing right now? And I was like, do yours first. If you don't do your stuff first, it will not get done. So I said, focus on this now. And if I have applied a couple hours in the morning of really clear, deep thinking, the rest of the day are what? Meetings, laundry, life, errands, food. I also insist, except for rare exception, that I do not do anything productive between probably 3 and 5 or 2 and 4. It depends on the day. Those, forget it. I can't be my best for you. I have probably now worked all morning and good part of the early afternoon, and I'm going to need a minute. And so I sometimes will just lie down. I'm like, naps are non-negotiable. I am a professional napper.
Yeah.
I can hit REM faster than you can say it, and I will pop back out of it and start working right away. That is a gift, I know, and a skill that I have worked on my whole life.
That's a superpower.
It's a superpower because when people are like, oh, I wish I could nap during the day, it must be nice. I'm like, oh, are you up working at that high level in the morning and working all day and every weekend and all night, except for the rare, delicious break? Because that's fun. And I definitely, let me make very clear, I am not sitting here like grinding away, but I am like a magnet or like the Roomba. I like return to my base, and the base is the work. I go out, I take care of stuff. I'm going to come back to base, but I need time to walk. I insist on an hour at least of vigorous exercise in the morning, which was a new habit in the past 2 years. And then I insist on a nap. And when I get from my nap, I've got a good 5 more hours in me. I can do anything. Note, I am not married. I have no children. I realize this is not possible for many people raising families. There's a reason I chose this life. This is what I wanted. And so
I would actually, I'd push back even on that. That's a wonderful disclaimer. And you're saying, look, it's not for everyone. But depending on what kind of family person you want to be, why not do those things? Right.
Well, you can. It's not that you don't have time to yourself, right? As a family person, but it is harder to carve out that time when you have little ones.
It can be, right? These additional parameters for sure. Yeah. All right. So that we'll lock in that disclaimer. as to how you are able to, perhaps, and others might not be. But it also sounds like you've come to this over many experiences, after trying, after maybe not insisting upon it from time to time. And it sounds like you're pretty confident that this works really well for you.
I will be able to function as the machine I need to be if I get sleep, I get food, I get like, it's not like, oh, I try to be healthy. I'm not trying to, there's no virtue signaling. I have a very finicky digestion. I'm only eating what feels good and what tastes good because there's too many things I can't eat. And so like, I'm going to like what I eat.
Yeah.
And I believe, and this is not, I don't believe I'm special here either, but what if rather than I'm a workhorse and I have to carry work through my day, and what if we didn't look at it that way? Because I certainly don't. That's a hopeless position to picture yourself in. What if we reframed it? I have long thought that I'm more like a channel, that I can do my best work when I keep as much out of that channel as I can. So no, I am not endlessly scrolling, because it clutters my head and then I can't be as clear. And I want clarity above all else, the ability to focus when I need to. And so do you. And so does everyone listening. What are you doing to ensure that you keep some of the crap out of it? And that can be exercise can do it. Exercise can do it. All those things can do it, but it's all for the same end. It's purely selfish. I want to feel good doing what I want to do and have to do. And I want it to be pleasurable. And one thing I talk about in the book, Joe, that was also the thing that everyone asked me about when the book first came out, when Unfollow Your Passion first came out. They're like, what do you mean you should stay in your comfort zone? Because that's a big part of what I believe.
Mhm.
And it's people go, no, you have to get out. I said, yeah, of course, you got to take risks. You've got to expand your comfort zone, but I don't leave it. I pay too much rent here in New York City to leave this comfort zone, this literal, actual comfort zone. I want to be comfortable. And when I'm psychologically, physically, mentally, emotionally comfortable, then I can take the risks. Telling people to get used to being uncomfortable is what most of humanity has felt for all of recorded history. Most people have spent a huge chunk of their lives totally uncomfortable. So if you want to pursue discomfort, be my guest. What a privilege. I'd rather hang on to whatever shred I can get.
Right. But what you're talking about sounds very artificial, right? The privilege of doing that, and people more often than not are way outside their comfort zones, and it can be crippling and it keep us from any
We
progress.
still are.
Yes, totally. And I love what you're saying, staying within that comfort zone. I totally believe this as well. I consider my job pushing people to the edge of that comfort zone so that they can continue to grow and stretch and do
Grow
things
it.
maybe
Yeah,
that
you
they
have
wouldn't
to
be
grow
doing,
it.
right? Yeah. But yeah, you got to still be willing to do a thing. You got to be willing to do a thing, because if you're so far out, you're not going to do anything. You're going to cocoon. And look, there's something to recharging. That's not what I'm talking about, right? But if you're so
Right.
far outside your comfort zone, you're in survival mode more than you're in thriving mode. You're not even near
Yeah.
thriving, right?
It's like, does
So
anyone make their best decisions when they're hangry? Because I'm not uncomfortable when I'm hangry. No, of course
no.
not. But like you said, expanding it, the idea that when people are like, oh, I like to do something every day that scares me. Really? I don't love that. I
For
will
you.
do something that maybe feels a little harder, sure. But
Yeah.
I can only do that when I feel at home in my life, in my body, in my mind,
What do you do when you catch yourself not living the way you want to be living? What happens for you?
Meaning that would I know that? Meaning I get stressed or something? Because when I feel like maybe sometimes I am a little optimistic and I book too much at a time.
Okay.
Or book too much travel back to back. And I go, why did I do that? Because now and I have to just like unplug immediately. When my go-to when I'm really stressed or it's too much is sleep. Like it's how I cope with a lot of stuff. And so if things are happening not the way I want, then I tell myself like that is my self-care, is like, all right, I'm going to have to like power down for a bit. But I will say that the thing that keeps me on the tracks are the relationships. I mean, my relationships are what define my life outside of these, four walls. It's the people. And I am continuously and asynchronously in contact with many people, as I'm sure you are and everyone else is, through not even email really more, and not even through text, but through Voxer, through Marco Polo. Like, I am a heavy user of those apps because I want any moment to be able to go, hey, you know what's so funny? Ongoing conversation. I don't go hello and goodbye. It's just ongoing. So if you feel like you're sustaining multiple meaningful ongoing conversations, that keeps me sort of aligned and grounded. Like, that is what I do. I come back to my people when I'm feeling like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And given the way that you're explaining, the looseness of the framework of the conversation, that it's just when you feel it, when in the moment, it doesn't have to have a particular structure, it doesn't have to happen between particular hours. It sounds like it's easily accessible at any moment.
At any moment. And yet I can remain alone because I like to spend most of my time alone. Like, I want time to myself. I'm hungry for it. For every hour I spend with a human, I think I need like 2 to 3 hours of like recuperating time. So I want to enjoy it, and then I need time apart.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I cope, is to make sure I can always retreat behind the curtain a bit.
It's really great to know about yourself, right? It's really
Oh my
great to
God.
know.
I mean, what am I changing at this age? Like, this is who I am now. This is who we are. And once you're no longer a young adult,
Yeah.
best to get to know how you function best, because it gets easier if you are willing to own up to those things.
Well, own it and lean into it, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
figure out how to make it work for you, instead of,
Yes.
just saying, well, that's how I am. It sucks, but that's how I am. It's like, well,
No.
what if you just like embrace it and make it work for you?
Yep.
So given all the relationships you have that re-energize you when you're, done recharging on your own, who is someone you admire, and what do you admire about them?
Okay, so I'm going to remove from that equation my boyfriend. He's an intimate partner, my sisters, who I love very much and talk to all the time, my mother. I'm going to take family out. Someone I admire. I'm going to say a woman I admire. So many of them, but one of them is a woman named Suzanne Kingsbury, who basically changed my life. She is the creator of the gateless method, which I'm sure no one's heard of, but she created these retreats for writers, was originally how it started, and created a set of rules with how you interact in those, within her method. She formulated this method, and I got to experience it. Like almost not even 10 years ago, walked into a tree, had no idea, just was like, I want to get back into my own writing again. I've gotten too far from it. And the experience of that changed me. And here's what I admire about her, is that she was so intuitive to understand. She also studied it, what allows us to be most comfortable so that we can make amazing things. And in the context of that container, we'll call it, of like what she said, here's how we talk. We don't criticize, we don't judge. Here's how we react to things, respond to things. It helped me reprogram how I think about and respond to other people. It has undoubtedly changed my work and changed the way I interact with people in my life too. Of course, no one's perfect, but I admire her because she has grown a community based only on the intention of that. She is not someone who went going, how can I make $1 million? How can I have a 6-figure launch? That isn't what she's about. And yet her ideas and her intention and her rich sort of literary background and all that fed me and feeds a lot of people. And she didn't just feed me. She was like, teach a woman to fish time. So she has then, that to me is admirable. When you create something, you teach it to someone else, they benefit from it, and they can continue to spread that and to enact that essentially kind and loving tool. It's a tool. It's not, a mushy thing. It allows you to do great work. And I admire her. She's become a close friend, of course, but as a person who can run these things, she's been my model. So she's probably the person I admire. I don't know if it's the most, but she's the one who pops to mind.
Yeah,
I
no,
think you
that's
should talk to her.
fabulous. Well, sounds like I'd be delighted. And by the way, folks probably have heard of her and her method if they follow you
Yes.
at all on social media, because I know I have already. And I love how you connected the idea of the comfort zone with her as well, as how she helps
Oh, when
people to identify.
it made so much sense, because how
Yeah.
were we able to write so much better with her? Because our hackles weren't up. We weren't afraid
Yeah.
someone's going to jump down our throats. Like, you can't get the best out of people without making it psychologically safe.
Right. And how refreshing too. Life's hard enough as it is. Why make this additional tool and how to learn it be an additional hardship
Oh,
that you have to overcome? Right. It
yeah.
sounds like it's again stripping away to get at what you know to be true already, probably.
Yes, and yes, I've used it with people who like to write, but I've also taken it into corporations. I've taken this method into the executives at L'Oreal, to Franklin Templeton, like all these institutions and companies that you wouldn't think that they're like would need this kind of thing or would want it,
Right. Right.
but
It's not their defining characteristic. Yeah.
it's not right. It's not specific to writers. It's about humans. Humans want to make things and feel good about it.
Yeah. That's great. I love the universality of it. What do you imagine that some people admire about you?
I know what they admire about me because they tell me. And I
That's
think
helpful.
it's very helpful, but it's always funny when someone tells you when you hear someone describe you in front of you, like, oh, that's Terri. She's blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wow, really? Because you have a view of yourself. You're just this, whatever, plodding through your life. But what people tell me that they like is that I say things that they already kind of thought they already knew. But I said, you know what I mean? It's not like either I help them see things in a completely new way, or I reaffirm what they thought by saying it in a way that sticks for them. So they feel validated around me, I think. I think that's one of the things. They tell me that I entertain them, that I make them feel good, that I help them feel capable, which I think might even be more important. A lot of people can make you feel good, but can someone make you feel that you can do a thing? Again, that's a generative gift. And I feel like that's the thing. I think there's no pretense around me. How I'm talking, you and I have not met before. I can talk to you as I am talking to you the way I would talk to anyone, because I've already decided to trust you. And I think the reason why we don't have the relationship, or some people don't feel that kind of connection, is they think someone has to earn their trust first. I say, no, not with your life savings, but I decided to trust Joe first. I trust first, and I change my mind later if I need to.
You reserve the right, right?
I do, but I think trusting first can accelerate, and I think people feel that around me.
That's great to feel comfortable, maybe expressing that vulnerability. Would you see it as vulnerability?
Yeah, I do. But I also think everyone has a private life and things, no one, first of all, wants to hear everyone's business. And I know that, but I feel like I always make sure if I'm going to tell something personal, there's a reason I'm telling it, or there's a point to it. I'm not trying to unload my life onto everyone. It's not me. Complainers, I don't do well around, and I find I'm not around any because I don't tolerate it.
That's great. Yeah, you keep giving me these great examples. I haven't expressly asked the question of what have you said no to that has made a significant impact, but you give me some really good ones. It sounds like certain interactions you've been saying no to, right? Not being around the complainers.
I'm just not available for it. I just evaporate. I just am gone. I'm not there for, things are hard enough, right? That you have to get through and do. I don't want more people tension or people friction. So I try to let a lot of things just go. And a lot of people go and a lot of things go. You have to tell ourselves, I have to tell myself, and so do we all, we're not going to meet or try most things. Most things. Our life is this tiny thread that is a beginning and a very real end. And so we have no time for the other stuff. Yeah. I don't have time. Someone, it goes without saying, but I got some kind of communication. It was email from someone I was kind of doing business with a little bit, like we were thinking about. And the comment was like a sexually charged comment that was just like, yeah, no. And I was like, nope, I was not. I didn't even want there wasn't anything I wanted to talk about. I didn't hash out I think that closure's overrated.
Oh, what do you mean by that? Closer's overrated. What do you mean?
Because if you're going to be a jackass, then
Yeah.
I don't have time. I am sorry, I don't have time. We're moving on. There's no time barely to do the things we want. And so and here's the thing, and this is a little bit #patriarchy, because obviously you can imagine being a single kind of liberal woman living in Manhattan. I'm going to have those feelings.
I can only imagine. Yes.
I don't suffer any jabs in that direction. I just not. So when people maybe wrong me or offend me in some way, and then they demand an audience for apology. No, but I just want to tell you, no. I don't owe anyone anything. I don't especially owe an audience to someone who's proved that they don't deserve it. And yet people will tell you, no, but I need that. No. And that's the thing is, where am I giving attention? And no one's entitled to my attention.
I love that. That's great. To me, well, I love to expand the definition of a word in a way that is helpful to me. Right? I don't like to be boxed in or limited really by anything. It's kind of my approach to life. Yeah. So when I heard, to me, that sounds like great closure. No, I have closed this off. I've gotten my closure from you. You don't need to be a part. You've already shown to me that you don't deserve to be a part of my life.
Right. Okay. Closure meaning I don't need to talk about it with them.
Right. No, that's great. I understand now. Yeah.
Them or explain my reasoning. I don't owe anyone that. That's the thing.
No, that's great.
And if I have to apologize, if I mess up, and someone goes, I don't know if I can trust you anymore. I mean, that's really rare because that you can trust me. But if someone feels they can't because there was a miscommunication and that happens, I say you are well within your right to not talk to me anymore if you don't want to do work with me, whatever. But understand that I learned from it. I know what went wrong, and I'm not going to do that again. Yeah. And I understand why I made the mistake, and I'm not going to do it because now I get it. And I hope you understand. But but you need to give me another. No.
Yeah. No, it sounds more like you've done your personal reflection on it, right? Bummer that they're not there to listen to it. Right.
Yeah. You can't make people do things, I think.
Well, that's news to a lot of people, I think.
Yes.
Right. It's like, what do you mean you can't make people listen to an apology? Right.
Yeah.
Terri, is there anything else that you would like to share in the name of intentionality that we haven't covered or that you'd like to share?
I think we teach what we most need to learn, right? I am actually very impressionable and easily persuaded. So I have to put up those walls because I know I'll get sucked in. So there's that. But I think one of the hardest things any of us will have to do is not work. I think as people, we know how to work. We can work if we want, meaning effort. The hardest thing we're going to have to do is choose, and not choose once and forever, but to choose something now. You know, how many people come to me and they say, I have so many ideas. I could do so many things. I go, yeah. And you're not going to do all of them this year or maybe ever. And having all the ideas in the world is like having all the best intentions in the world. It doesn't matter unless you just like having the ideas. Mm-hmm. If you like having a bag of ideas and you walk around your whole life saying I had the best ideas, that's great. But if you really want to do something, make something, share something, as Seth Godin calls art, you make it intentionally and you offer it to a person, to the marketplace, then you're going to have to choose. And having more ideas doesn't make you better. Let me see you execute on one. Mm. So the outcome doesn't even matter, but do something. I know because I get like that too. But there's so many things. I go, no. What's going to yield the most important thing to you right now? Is it money? Is it income? Is it relationships? Is it opportunities? It has to yield something. And it can't be, because so-and-so expected me to and wants me to. Nope. No time for that either. It has to rank up there for you to do it. And then you have to choose to do it.
Yeah. How simple. Very simply stated.
Simple, but not really. Yeah.
Well, it's hard for people, right? So briefly, how do you help people to make that decision? Or is that something that you help them to do?
I do. And I do it because a lot of my work happens crucible style, we're doing the work together as a group in the room. And they have to, like, I give them a writing prompt and I go, you're going to do this. Even if you're not a writer, it doesn't matter. I need you to do this now. Go do it now, do it. And it's like, there's pressure. Just go do it. We don't have time. Don't worry. No time. And then they do it. They write for a few minutes and I go, okay, now read it. And we're like, amazing. Do you see that? They have to have evidence of progress. We all do. And so that is how you do it is, I don't care. It's fine. You can change it later. Just make it now. Do it now. Try it now. We'll change it later. I'm always like, take it out and post kind of person, but do it now because then you have it. And then you have evidence that you can make and say and do stuff. Motivation only comes when you have witnessed your own progress. So what can you allow yourself to progress in today?
Love it. Love it. Right now, today. Just do something.
Now,
right?
do it. Hurry up.
That's so good. Terri, thank you so much. It's been real pleasure getting to chat with you today. I'm really glad we got to do this. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your very careful consideration of the questions and in sharing your insights and your perspectives. I really appreciated it. How can folks find you if they want to learn more about how to work with you, what you're up to?
Yeah. Well, the best way is to get on the list, just because those are the people I give the first rounds of invites and offers to. And I'm thinking because the book is the most helpful, I think at this point could be. Maybe you're like, who is this chick? Do I want this? You can download the first chapter free. You just go to unfollowyourpassion.com. That's the easiest. But I'm the only one named Terri Trespicio. I'm the only one. So if you try to spell it, Google knows me, and then you can find me pretty much anywhere. But definitely get on the email list because that's where the gold is.
Fantastic. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll be sure to link all that stuff, make it easy for folks, right? But if that's the one thing they do today, make it that, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
This has been Intentionally Ever After, hosted by intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek. If you would like to have your own intentional conversation with Joe on or off the air, visit intentionallyeverafter.com. Thanks for listening.